Hello friends, it is I, Dan Phelps. Welcome to the first in a series of videos on looping, both the technique and mindset that goes into using looping as a musical device. In this video, we're going to talk about why looping? Why is it important? What's valuable about it? 2, we're going to talk about some of the mindset that goes into looping creatively and effectively. And 3, we're going to explore this little blue guy, the blooper by Chase Bliss Audio. So let's go on a journey together. So why looping? What's so valuable about both the practice and the technology of looping for the modern musician? Well, aside from being a powerful practice tool that you can use to play over chords and practice things and work out ideas without having to work with another musician or even pre-recorded tracks, looping is this kind of fascinating sort of reduction sauce approach to creation, where it really shows what you have going on as a musician and what your strengths, weaknesses, and sort of musical proclivities are. Looping as a practice really links into a lot of other topics about music that I love, such as improvisation, discovery. It shares some kind of techniques and ideas with multi-track recording, which is super exciting. And it allows you as a solo musician to create really deep and vast tapestries of sound that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do on your own. In addition, the practice of live looping in an improvisational way in front of people has really given me a venue to work out some fears and anxieties that I have had about my performance and musicianship. So it's been a super valuable process to me and something I've been doing for a really long time. Also in this series, we're going to be really deeply exploring this pedal, the Chase Bliss Audio Blooper. Why the blooper, you might ask? Well, I've been looping for a pretty long time, kind of as long as I can remember. My first guitar pedal was a Boss DD5, which is a digital delay pedal that also has sampling and kind of some pseudo looping functions to it. And before I even knew what looping was, I was enjoying the fact that I could kind of create these layers of sound that added unique textures to the music I was making. Over the years, I've used and owned a number of different looping devices, and I still have several that I use on a regular basis. But the blooper is unique because it really is a really full-featured looping device in a super small enclosure. I don't really know of anything else that's quite like it, and I started to get really excited when I saw that Chase Bliss was working on it because they have a unique approach to pedals in general, and they seem to pack a whole bunch of really useful features into a small space. Most looping pedals that are the same size as the blooper tend to be either very basic with a limited set of features, or they tend to focus on a more esoteric and limited approach to looping, such as the Hexi Revolver, which is more of a sampler than a looper. While it does do loops, it doesn't allow you to do sound on sound or overdubs. So it's kind of more of a performance sampling device than a normal looper, strictly speaking. And because the blooper is so full-featured and will be widely available soon, it seems like a great avenue through which to explore different looping techniques and ideas and concepts. So that's what we're doing here. I'll be talking specifically about the blooper, but I'll be talking about looping in general as we go through what this little blue box of wonder does. So I got the blooper about a month ago, just before Christmas, and took it on my Christmas trip with my family. I had a guitar and a distortion pedal and the blooper and a speaker simulator so that I could play with headphones, and I kind of gingerly started to get to know the pedal. It's really deep and there's a lot of knobs, and if you're familiar with what Chase Bliss Audio does, there's a ton of dip switches on the back that, frankly, it's just kind of overwhelming. It's definitely a pedal where you want to read the manual to get started. Now, when I'm working with a new piece of gear, I tend to want to just jump in and explore what it does. I'm an intuitive musician, and I always want to know if I can kind of stumble my way into some great sounds or inspiring textures from a new piece of gear. With the Blooper, you're going to want to look at the manual, even just a little bit. And they've included a nice full-size manual for your enjoyment. That being said, my process of getting to know a piece of gear like the Blooper tends to be that I'll read the manual just enough to get started and then see how far I can get in the discovery mode before I have to go back to the manual and actually figure out what's going on. So I found that between spending a little bit of time with the manual and my previous experience of other looping devices, I was able to figure out what was going on with the Blooper fairly quickly. One of the first things I did was take the Blooper to a free improv jam where, without much experience at all, I started just using it as a texture creation and idea capturing device, kind of to add additional sounds to what I was doing in the music. And I found myself in the weeds a few times, especially with the unique additive mode that the Blooper has. More on that later. But it was fun, and I was able to kind of surprise myself with some unique textures, and everyone else seemed to enjoy it as well, so that's a win. Sometime later, I used the Blooper on my pedal board during a worship service at church and was able to create some lovely additive loops and textures that I think added depth to the music that we were playing. And just a few days ago, I had a solo performance gig where I forgot to bring the power supply from my laptop, which is a problem because my entire live looping setup is based around Ableton Live. So I was forced to begin my set with about 7% battery on the laptop, which lasted about all of 5 minutes, and finish out the remaining 40 minutes using just my pedals and the Blooper. And I'm kind of chuffed to say that it went well. I was able to create. I definitely had kind of an insane high wire act clarity about what I was doing, just making it up on the fly using a device that I'm only partially familiar with, but it's a deep pedal and I was able to get through it, and I've got a lot of great compliments and good words from people afterwards. So I don't think anybody in the audience knew that I was basically limping my way through 40 minutes of the set. Good job, Blooper, thank you. So my first impression of the Blooper is that it's actually fairly easy to get started with. And if you keep the repeat knob all the way up and the stability knob all the way down, it functions like most other loopers do out there in the world. The first click sets the in point of your loop, and the second click sets the out point of your loop, and voila, you're looping. The second thing that I will add is that the Blooper brings a lot of fun to the process with its modifiers. Modifiers is the term that Chase Bliss Audio uses for its built-in effects that you can either process the loop with or re-record onto the loop. Some effects like pitch shifting, speed change, reverse, and some fairly unique digital sort of degradation effects make it really fun, and within just a few minutes of creating something, you can completely transform it into another texture, which is brilliant. I love that. In addition, the Blooper really sounds great, the quality of the effects are good, and the sound quality of the unit itself is good, and so far, even in some fairly extreme settings, such as improvising a full set with it as the primary looping device, it's been incredibly stable. My only somewhat critical observation is that it's a lot of features to pack into a really small enclosure. So when it's on my pedal board, I find myself down there either reaching to turn these buttons on or to change a state. And sometimes on a dark stage, it's a little hard to see exactly where these little mini switches are set. On the other hand, it's just a small enclosure, and they've done a really good job of laying it out in a fairly intuitive and easy to grasp way. So that just kind of comes with the territory. So in conclusion, my advice when engaging with any new device that has some deep features is to learn enough to get going and then just dive in and see what sort of creative impulses it draws out of you. It's good to have sort of a Zen beginner's mind about this stuff, sort of a childlike fascination and joy with learning something new. It's a good practice to bring into your life sometimes. Secondly, when you're learning something new, be kind to yourself. Don't be judgmental of the process or of your progress. Just engage with it and recognize that with any new thing that you're trying to learn, you're gonna suck at it for a while, and that's completely normal and okay. I think maybe as adults, when we get out of school, which I don't know about you, but for me was so much about feeling bad at different things, there's a desire to only do things that you're good at or only put yourself in situations where you know that you can succeed. That's not actually really functional for life or for growth. So even in things like learning a new looping device or learning a new technique on whatever instrument you play, have patience because it's hard. Lastly, let me encourage you not to be afraid. Be bold in your creation, and you don't have to be scared because it's just music. It's not doing brain surgery with a microscopic laser or anything like that. Lives are not on the line. Just lighten up a little bit, enjoy the process, and have fun. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss this upcoming series. And you can also find other looping, music, and mindset related content over on my Instagram page. My handle is @DanPMusic, or on my Facebook page. I'll put the links for all of those things in the notes below. Tune in next week for video 2 in this series, where I'm gonna dive into the blooper and its modifiers, its built-in effects, and how those create an opportunity for creating super unique and interesting textures. Thanks for watching. I'm Dan. I'll see you soon.